Hey folks, Bret here. It has been an incredibly interesting week. Last Wednesday, Dave Rubin invited me to join him on stage in Bellevue, Washington for a Comedy and Questions event, which was quite extraordinary. The following night, I attended the Jordan Peterson lecture in Seattle in preparation for the debates last weekend in Vancouver between Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris, which I had the privilege of moderating. There's definitely something going on. All of the audiences in these various venues were utterly enthusiastic, and they appeared to be enthusiastic about the breakdown of the tired sense-making apparatus that we've all been stuck with for so long, and its replacement by something new, interesting, and unpredictable. If you haven't been to one of these live events, I highly recommend it. I think you will discover something very exciting is afoot. If you can't get to one of these live events, and maybe even if you can, I would recommend looking into the Rubin Report with Bret Weinstein, Ben Shapiro, and Jordan Peterson, and one prior to that with Jordan Peterson and Bret Weinstein. Both of those discussions are of quite a new sort. I think we're really breaking new ground, and lots of positions that have previously been thought to be unreconcilable are beginning to converge on some kind of new reasonableness. It's very hopeful. Now I want to say a few words about the debates in Vancouver. I chose at the beginning of those evenings to ask the audience not to live stream or record the events, and it appears that nobody did, on the basis that no video has emerged. So thank you for listening to me and taking that request seriously. I do have some concern now that the videos that were taken officially of those events are not going to emerge for quite some time, and that creates a problem. Let me say a few words about why I made the request to begin with. My thought, having seen several of these events of different kinds now, is that there's a palpable difference between those events that are immediately brought to the internet and events in which the room in which the event takes place is isolated from the internet for some period of time. I wasn't sure exactly why the difference existed. My thought was that perhaps participants are a little bit more relaxed about what they say in the context of a room that is not immediately being broadcast to the outside world. In the aftermath of the Vancouver debates, I've changed my mind a little bit about why the difference exists. My feeling now is that there is a necessity for the room to be able to decide what it saw before the internet weighs in. And when an event is broadcast, when it is streamed, or when it is immediately released, there's a tendency for the internet reaction to overwhelm the reaction of the room, and it can actually overwrite it. So I do think it's a good idea for events, especially ones that are likely to change the nature of the dialogue, like a debate between Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson, where progress is made and things are different at the end of the evening than they were before. It's very important for those events, I think, to be insulated from the internet for long enough for the room to come to a conclusion about what it saw before it gets overwhelmed by the outside. I don't think, however, that it's healthy to have a very long delay in such a case. I'm particularly concerned that Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris are going to meet again very soon in Dublin and in London. And they will, of course, be meeting from the position that they arrived at the end of their Vancouver meeting. But their audience is now divided. There are those people who were in Vancouver and are up to date on the change in their understanding of each other. And then there's the majority of the audience, which wasn't in Vancouver and hasn't been able to grapple with the change in both men's positions. I think that poses a danger that it's a little bit hard to describe, but it is possible that the audience failing to update its model of where the two positions that these men hold are at the moment will cause them to regress, and that the progress that they made, which I think was very substantial, may also be a little bit fragile. So were it mine to decide, I would have those tapes released so that the internet could view them and come to understand them before Jordan and Sam meet in Dublin and in London. I don't think that's going to happen, and so I feel I owe an apology to the audience for making the request I did. Had I known that it might be a very long time before the tapes were going to emerge, I would not have made that request. So I would also ask something of the audience, which is give Sam and Jordan room to let you know in their own way the ways in which their perspectives have been modified. I saw today on Reddit that somebody had posted a quote from Sam from I don't know how long ago, but it was clearly a very harsh judgment of Jordan Peterson's perspective. And I know it does not fit with his current understanding. It's one example of the kind of tension that could pull one or both of these people backwards. So please resist the urge to pull them, and I hope that they will find a way to bring their London and Dublin audiences up to speed as quickly as possible. Those events in London and Dublin are going to be quite different than the Vancouver events. For one thing, they won't be moderated. They will be joined by Douglas Murray, who is a wonderful human being in his own right. I met him several weeks ago, and I think they are sure to have a fascinating discussion, but it will not be a discussion in which there is somebody whose purpose is to help them not talk past each other. In any case, I do hope that the momentum that has taken over this movement, if that's what it is, continues, and that we will find a way to continue to level up so we can keep discovering greater nuance that will allow us to process the reality that we find ourselves in with ever greater accuracy. Thanks very much, and I look forward to meeting many of you in the future.